Welcome back to the Vernon Turner Show. I'm your host, Wayne Turner. Got a very special guest on the show. Someone I had the privilege to play with in college. Someone who I had the privilege to play against in high school. But before we get into this conversation, make sure you subscribe to my show. What we have in here today is no other than someone who was arguably the best player in high school coming out in my class, 1995. Went to Kentucky, won the 1996 national championship and was very significant at doing that. And also was a lottery pick in the NBA, played 10 years in the league and had a very successful career, and just recently was inducted into the Kentucky Athletic Hall of Fame. My friend, my brother, my ex-roommate, Ron Mercer. How you doing, bro?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Obviously, watching Kentucky play, this is not what we're used to seeing, usually, especially with Cal's team, they come out, winning games in the beginning. And then when they run into tough teams, we see how they're going to do, further down the line. Obviously in the Big Blue Nation, that's unacceptable. It don't matter, who's on the court. You wearing that uniform, you must perform, and you definitely got to win. And starting out 1-5, something that hasn't happened since 1926, that's something to pay attention to. And but for me and you, bro, going to school, I mean, we came in highly recruited. You was arguably number one, easily. Obviously, USA Today ranked KG number one, and you was Gatorade number one. But or Naismith, I'm sorry, number one. But coming from high school, going to college was definitely, a big adjustment. But before we get into that, I've always wanted to ask you, was something that was going through my mind. Like, I never knew who inspired you to play basketball. Like, who encouraged you? Like, I had a cousin that encouraged me. Like, what was your decision to play basketball? When did you decide that you wanted to be a college basketball player and then a pro?
Well, actually, I started, in the neighborhood, I just started playing all sports. But far as my first organized sport was actually football. Started playing football, and a guy had discovered me in my neighborhood. And then I ended up signing up for basketball. It wasn't very good. And coordination wasn't really good at the time. And but I felt like there was something that I enjoyed, and I continued to just play. But my first year, at the time, they had a thing called All-Star. So at the end of the year, you make All-Star and you will continue to play. Well, I didn't make that All-Star team. I got cut at the end of the year, and that done something to me. So I practiced that summer, and the next year, I ended up being one of the better players in the whole little league that we played in. So it just goes to show that sometimes your failures can turn you into a winner at some point. It can motivate you to do better. So, and sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that in life because we're going to have a lot of setbacks throughout careers and throughout high school, middle school, whatever. But you need those setbacks to go forward in life. And that's basketball is like the game of life. So it teaches you as you go along the way. So that's how I got started.
Wow, that's interesting to know, man. I appreciate you sharing that. You played high school ball mostly your whole career in Tennessee, but then you made a change. You transferred to Oak Hill. Mm-hmm. Why did you make that transfer, and who influenced you?
I think that's something that kind of started in middle school. So for the people that don't know, some Kentucky fans probably know from back then and some don't, but when I was in middle school, my 7th grade year going into my 8th grade year, and it sounds kind of crazy, but I did not want to play middle school basketball. So I met this guy named Drew Maddox who went to a private school that was kindergarten through 12th. So if I transferred to that school in the 8th grade, I could play varsity. So that's what I did because I wanted more competition. So I went to this school called Good Pasture from 8th through my junior year. So my senior year, I wanted more competition. I always wanted to play against the best. And that school would provide that. So I transferred schools my senior year just so I can play better competition. So that's just my mentality growing up. I've always wanted to play the best, no matter what. Whatever the competition is, I have to face that. And that played a big part of me going to Kentucky because, once again, I wanted to play with the best and against the best every day. So that's how I got to that point. It started when I was younger. So, yeah.
Right. No, that's interesting. I always wondered because I know you was at, we read the papers, USA Today, and your school was one school, and then you went to, it's not like you did an extra year. You didn't do a prep postgraduate. You just graduated right after 12th grade. So, during those times, people went to schools like Oak Hill after they went to their,
Right.
their regular high school, and you did it differently. So I just always wonder why you moved, and I appreciate you even saying that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you was recruited by pretty much every college in the country. Who did you narrow it down to, and who had the upper hand in your recruiting when you narrowed it down?
So my choices at the time, it came down to two schools, University of Tennessee and Kentucky. So the University of Tennessee, my whole family's been UT ever since I was younger. Whole family, that's what they represent. I was a big Allen Houston fan, Wade Houston fan, which is his dad, and he was the coach during my freshman, sophomore year. But he left by the time I got to a senior. So that's something I was leaning towards. And plus, some of the guys that were on my AAU team was actually going to UT. So they actually had an advantage, but my competitive spirit of me wanting to get better every day, play against the best competition, and Kentucky had that. Not only that, I felt like they had the best coach in the nation. They had the best style of play that fit my basketball skills. But at the end of the day, I wanted to play against the best. And when you look at that Kentucky team before we got there, they were really good. And then once we got there, I really seen how individually these guys were. They were really good. So just the competition, man, is just knowing. And not only that, best fans in the nation. I mean, to go to a Kentucky game when you're in high school and just see that gym and just see all blue and the fans and the knowledge that the fans have, how can you turn that down? So that's what it came down to, University of Tennessee and Kentucky.
And why Kentucky and not Tennessee? Best fans?
Everything. Best fans, competition, coach, style. I think everything that I was looking for, it kind of checked every box. I think the only thing that slowed the process down, of course, coming out of high school, you want to start. And I believed in my skills of starting, but I was a big Roderick Rhodes fan, and I knew that this guy is good. Like this guy's going to start. He would start over me, and that's the way I looked at it. And I didn't know. And there was some talk that he might be leaving or whatever it may be. So I didn't know what was what. So, but I knew that the guys that was already there was playing that position, like they were good. They were really, really good. So. Yeah.
And you end up going to Kentucky, and then, you start 13 games. After 13 games, you went to the bench. I mean, how did that make you feel? Because that, I know that had to be, kind of mentally tough to go through. But how did you, what was you going through those times?
Man, that was tough. Actually, for me, being a young guy at the time, it was tough. It was disappointing because, you started those games and then all of a sudden now you have to take a step back. That's how you see it as a kid, as a teenager, that you're taking a step back, but you're actually helping the team. And I can remember coach telling me like, hey, Ron, listen, you're better coming off the bench. I want you going against some of those other guys coming off the bench. Now, did I really understand that at the time? No. You just have to deal with it, had to continue to practice and play hard. And coach would always tell me, your time is coming, just wait. You know, your time is coming. Just continue to work hard. And that's what I did. But in the beginning, it was tough, but it was best for the team for me to come off the bench. So, yeah.
Now, what were some of the things like he was telling you to work? Like, I mean, when I was in, obviously we all practiced together. I saw you practice, competing. We all competed for positions every day for playing time. We was competing on that team every day.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the adjustments that you had to make as a freshman? Because obviously those guys were a lot more experienced than we were.
Yeah.
Derek Anderson, even Allen Edwards had 1 year, ahead of us. Like, what were some of the things that you really had to focus on that you hadn't, it wasn't really your focus in high school?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the hardest part for me, and it took the whole year, is the defensive part, the defensive schemes, the press, the half court defense, those things. Because in high school, just like you, we could score the ball. We had no problem scoring, but it was a different philosophy as far as defensive wise, and we had to get that first, and that was a struggle. So I had to really focus on that, and then on the offensive end, I felt like I can score with anybody, especially in the second unit, and I'm playing against the second unit guys, can definitely, score against them. So it was just a matter of putting everything together, but it took the whole year to get those things together. But at the same time, you have to sacrifice something. Each individual has to sacrifice something for the ultimate goal, which is to win a national championship. And that's what we were able to do. Everybody sacrificed. Antoine, from yourself to everybody, had to sacrifice certain parts of their games to get to the ultimate goal. So, and that's what I had to do.
And this is just a question because it came to my mind just now. Like, how much did individual instructions help you? Like, how much did that play into a role of you going to Kentucky? Because it was so important for me.
Man, it helped my game out a lot because I relied off of athletic ability and speed, and not really just individual work. So to be able to know and get up certain amount of shots, and just to do skill works, come off screens, one-on-one, all the things we worked on in individual, that helps a lot because we don't have time to do that while we're practicing. So it kind of gives you that opportunity to hone in on those skills. So it helps out a lot. That was big time for me. I don't know if other schools really did it with that intensity that we did it, but it definitely helped out a lot. And that's something that I teach my son now, is individual stuff that we did in college. Some of the same stuff. So, yeah.
Right. And I think that's very important, especially for young players making an adjustment. And that was probably one of the biggest decisions for me, because I knew I had to work on some things, and I thought it was just getting the edge before, actually going out there and playing in the real game, that we had a little advance on other freshmen in the country.
Yeah.
But moving forward, you averaged about 18 minutes a game your freshman year. I averaged about 13. Obviously, you was taking out the lineup. But, and it always sticks in my mind because, like you said earlier, it's something that motivates you to do something. And I'm going to get into it later. But, me and you wasn't supposed to play in that Final Four. We weren't supposed to play in that championship game. But you got the opportunity. At least we was kind of told, we were warned that we may not get in because of our experience of playing, at that level, on that level.
Right.
Guys were ahead of us. You got the opportunity to play. And you came up big in the championship game. Why didn't you leave after your freshman year? I mean, you scored 20 points on the biggest stage ever in college basketball. Why didn't you go pro after that year?
I didn't know that was an option, and I felt like that I wasn't ready anyway. My freshman year, I never looked at that like going pro. I never even, not one time, even thinking about looking at that. My whole thing was the feeling that we got from winning a national championship. I wanted that feeling again. And I was even more determined to come back next year, the following year, my sophomore year, and try to win another one, because that's where I was with it. So far as after that championship game, I never even thought about going pro. Didn't know if it was an option for me. I really didn't. It's just I'm excited to go back and try to win another national championship, and that's where my goal was. So I had to work even harder because it wasn't a secret anymore. Because of the performance in the championship game, now I have a target on my back for the next year, so I have to be prepared for it. So that's where my focus was right after that. I mean, I probably got right back in the gym. I think we took maybe 2 weeks off and was right back in the gym after that. So,
And
um,
nobody said nothing about, are you thinking about coming out, or no buzz or nothing? It
not
was
that I heard. I didn't hear it. If it was, I didn't hear it, and I wasn't thinking that way. So.
social media wasn't in effect, right?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I probably would have heard about it
YouTube,
then.
all that, right? You've been gone. But
And
anyway,
yeah,
go
you got
ahead.
to think we wasn't allowed to read the paper at that time as well, right? So
I said that. I said that to someone. We wasn't allowed.
yeah,
And we stuck by it. That's
yeah.
how disciplined we really was, though. We really stuck to that. And it helped us definitely. But you stay, and I was happy you stayed, because we came in together, and we was roommates. And you stay and you come back, and now, you're one of the, you're the top player, if not, along with Derek Anderson, y'all are the top players on the team. Now y'all are leading our team. And, there's big expectations for you. Like, how coming into that year, how did you feel? How confident was you?
It was definitely a lot of pressure because now I'm stepping in a role that I haven't been in since high school. I haven't had that role on a college level, so it was definitely different and definitely a lot more pressure. But I had Derek to kind of help take on that pressure with me, along with you and other guys, because now, we still have a veteran-like team. Guys can play; they have that experience, and so it was just a matter of just going out and just doing my part, just play, just play, but knowing that I had a lot more responsibility compared to my freshman year.
Exactly. I remember Coach challenged you to rebound more, and
Yeah.
everything he challenged you with, you did for sure. And you had a partner in crime with Derek Anderson. Y'all had a knack for playing with each other. Y'all just knew where each other would be, like almost just naturally on the court, which was kind of like it was very unique for our team because we knew how to play around all that with y'all, and y'all averaged about the same amount of
Yeah.
points.
Yeah.
But then Derek goes down, like right in probably our third or fourth game into our conference season. He goes down. Now there's even more pressure on you. I mean, some other guys had to chip in like myself, but there's more pressure on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you feel after that? Because now you don't have DA playing with you. Like,
Right.
what was your mindset? I know it's been a little while, but what was your mindset then?
No,
Like, because you
I
had
still,
goals.
yeah, I still remember it was tough because I actually felt the pressure, and it's hard. And you can probably go back to other guys that were number one options on the team and from other teams in the past. But that pressure is something else. It's totally different. It's not like at other schools. This pressure was something different that I've never felt before because you had to go out and you had to perform every night. You couldn't really have an off night. And if you did, you had to make sure you make up for it on the defensive end. But I faced a lot more tougher defenses, double teams, things like that I had to figure out on the go. You try to prepare for it with film and things like that, but when you're actually out there, it's a lot more pressure. And then you start hearing, even though we were supposed to stay away from the papers and things like that, I would always hear that, okay, well, Kentucky's going to lose in the first round or the second round when they get to the tournament. And that always affected me because I'm like, okay, well, whoever is saying this don't have confidence in me, so I have to show. So I really have to go out and perform. So it was a lot more pressure than people would know. And so I just tried to take it as long as I could and just, perform as best as I could. But you need your teammates to do those things. So I think everybody stepped up as a team together, but I definitely felt the brunt of the pressure individually to perform. Definitely.
And you definitely did perform, and it was very, very impressive to me because it rubbed off on me watching you, do your thing. Obviously, we came in together as McDonald's All-Americans, and I wanted to make sure I was contributing as well. But something unique happened for you, like kind of like right after a Tennessee game or something like that. It was in conference season, and coach was like, okay, well, we got to make this announcement about, because you're leaving after your sophomore year. And for me, I just thought that everybody was supposed to make their decision, after the season, and you made it kind of like right in the middle. And I just felt like that would put even more pressure on you, because now you had to prove to the scouts that you could actually play at that level, and you was able to carry a team without Derek Anderson.
Right.
How did you do? Like, you performed, you handled it. I mean, I don't understand how you didn't. I don't know how I would have handled that.
Yeah. So how that process happened is, I don't even know if you knew this. So I don't even know if I told you this or not, because I had to pretty much keep it a secret till I got back on campus. So I had a conversation with Coach. So during that time we had Vanderbilt and then Tennessee on the road. So when we were at Vanderbilt, we had a conversation with my mom and Coach, and he kind of broke down what was going on in the NBA, the rules changing, where I was ranked at the time, and it was probably best for me to go ahead and leave at the end of the season. The reason why I announced it after the Tennessee game, which was, it was two reasons. One is to let the pro scouts know that I'm going to be available, so they will know that I'm coming out. Number two, which I think is the main reason why Coach wanted me to do it, was senior night. He wanted me to celebrate and go out on a good note on senior night, on our last home game. So I think that was the motivation behind it. It wasn't that I announced, or I was ready to go, or I said I was going to leave. No, I had to make a decision based upon where I was ranked at the time, and putting in factors that if I got hurt or anything like that, along with the rules changing in the NBA. So those combination of things kind of made that decision to go pro. So I don't know. I don't even know if you knew that. Did I even tell you that? I know I had to keep it a secret. So, okay. So, yeah.
I didn't know. But I remember you on senior night going out with those guys, Anthony Epps, Jared Prickett, on their senior night. I think you even got your jersey in the frame.
Yeah. And I definitely want to thank Coach for that, because he was thinking ahead of time, and he definitely wanted me to go out just like a senior would be, since that would be my last home game and things like that. So I definitely thank Coach Pitino for thinking ahead like that, because I wouldn't have thought that far ahead to do those type things. So, but that's basically how that came about. And then I had to get refocused and then go into the tournament from there, knowing that, okay, I am going pro at the end of the year. So now it's even more pressure to perform, try to get to the championship game and try to win another championship. So that's everything just kind of hit all at once in 1 week. So, yeah.
Wow. I never knew that, bro.
Wow. Yeah.
That's interesting. But that's kind of cool how he did it. I mean,
yeah.
I feel like it definitely made you. It probably took, sound like it took a little stress off to know that, that was going to happen, so you could focus on the season.
Right.
Definitely a good thing on Coach's part.
Yeah.
And then you get drafted, 6th pick. I mean, and then you end up, Coach ends up drafting you. Like, how did you know he was going to draft you? Did you have any in?
I did not know. I did not know at the time, because I didn't work out for them before the draft. I did not work out for them, and I see why, because he coached me for 2 years, so he already knew. So I didn't know that he was going to draft me. So it ended up working out. I already knew the system going in, and then reunited with Antoine. And then by opening night, there was a trade for Walter. So all three of us end up, starting on opening night. So it was pretty good. It's pretty cool.
Right. And I was going to ask you, how was that, knowing that Walter was there, knowing that Twan was there, guys you've won a championship with, like, rookies are supposed to have it hard. You
Yeah.
look like you made that smooth transition. You was used to guys playing. How was that? Did it feel like you were still kind of at Kentucky again? Your coach,
Uh,
coach at Kentucky.
from a practice standpoint, I felt like I was at Kentucky because we were doing doubles and all that stuff we was doing at Kentucky, we was doing in the pros. We was practicing 2 times a day, not only in training camp, but sometime during the year. So, yeah, during that point, it felt like it. But the games, playing, 70-something games or 80-something games, including preseason. So you get to a point where you hit a wall halfway through, and you just have to fight through it, and along with the traveling. So that was the big adjustments is mostly the traveling. But from a physical standpoint, it was tough because a lot of the guys were bigger than me, as far as 2 guards, stronger than me. So I had to make that adjustment on quickness and try to study film and things like that to try to get an edge. So it was definitely tough, but I definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, just moving forward, and I was happy to see y'all in Boston. That was kind of crazy for me because I'm from Boston, so seeing you guys and being able to go to I actually watched Twan play. Unfortunately, when I got there, you wasn't there anymore, but I actually watched him one year. I came home. Then it was another year. I came home and hung out with you guys. It was all so weird for me because we was all in Boston. I would never had
Yeah.
pictured that. And I just thought it was unique. And everybody would be like, man, aren't those your boys over there with the Celtics, man? You don't speak to those dudes. I was like, yeah, I speak to them, but they pros. They busy, So,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to always get that, and then Walter would say, man, you got about 100 cousins out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Every time, man, I'm Wayne cousin, man. I'm Wayne cousin. That's all we used to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was cool, man. Everybody, I got a lot of attention then from you guys. I tell you that much. But we gonna go ahead and move forward, and you have a great college career, obviously a great pro career as well. This year we end up getting inducted into the. You end up getting inducted into the Hall of Fame along with myself. How was that moment for you? Like, I know we was all on the call, but how did you feel? It was a virtual call, so no one couldn't really, we couldn't, actually be around each other. But, how did you feel after, Mitch Barnhart let us know that we was getting inducted?
Man, it was special because each throughout the years you would see guys getting inducted or whatever, and it was like, man, you're happy for those guys, and you always have it in the back of your mind, man, is did I do enough to get inducted? And when I found out, I mean, it was a great feeling. But then to take it a step further, when you got inducted at the same time, that means so much more to me because we came in together. You know, we came into class together. We were roommates. We did everything together. So to be inducted the same time as you're being inducted, it's like the icing on the cake for me. Because that's how we started. That's exactly how we started. We did everything together in college, man. So to see us both going in at the same time, I just appreciate the committee for doing that. I don't know if they was aware of all that. I'm pretty sure they was aware that we were roommates. Obviously, we were on the same team. But I definitely want to thank them for doing that because that means so much to me just to see the growth and everything that you went through when you was at Kentucky for the 2 years. Just that's just special, man. So it's icing on the cake for me.
Definitely, man. I definitely and yeah, it definitely meant a lot more to hear you be inducted with me and just all the things you said. I definitely agree with that. I felt that. I was happy to see you in there. And yeah, man, I'm like, okay, well, they pushed our they pushed our induction ceremony back,
Yeah.
you know, because of the COVID-19, obviously, and they're trying to work it out, we still don't know the exact dates, but just wanted to ask you, how you feel about the induction and,
You
things
know,
of that nature.
it's one of those things where I'm proud to be getting because of what's going on with the coronavirus and everything that's going on, it's just kind of up in the air. We don't really know what's going on with it. And I'm hoping that they're going to make a decision soon on what they want to do or see what options are available. Because if there's a situation where we have to go and be inducted, and if the situation is not safe, if I feel like the situation is not safe for me and my family, then I would probably have to do a video. And that would probably be something that me and my family would have to sit down and discuss, you know. And it's just a tough situation to kind of be in at this point because we don't know what's going on. I had a conversation with my father today. My son took my son to see my father, and we ate over his house, but we were sitting so far from each other, right? Because of the coronavirus. Even amongst ourselves, we're far away. Now, my son is, because he's around me, we're eating together, but we're away from my father. My father's in his 70s. My mother's in his 70s. So when it comes to that, I have to make a decision, a family decision on how to handle that based upon my family, because it's just tough times. But one thing that I wouldn't mind them trying, and if it's any time to try something, is to try something virtual. You know, if it's safest way to do something, try something virtual. What I mean by that is do an extended interview. Have some interviews from the inductees, coaches, and teammates. Things like that, where it's safe. You can, you know, interview and put it online for everybody to see. Because the one thing I would hate for is someone, family member, who's excited about their family member being inducted and they're not here 5 or 6 months from now. You know what I mean? You don't want to see that, family members or whatever not here, not being able to see it. So that's something I hope they check into. But whenever they have the dates, whenever they have everything figured out, you just have to make a decision from there and kind of figure it out. So I don't know. What do you think about it? Now I'm taking over.
I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. I've lost some family members to COVID because of the complications that they had going on with their health. And you know, it's just one of them things where, you know, times are uncertain. I mean, you don't know who has it. I mean, you don't know where it is. I mean, it's still, you know, I mean, even though they've got this vaccine out, you know, people are still unsure if they're even going to take the vaccine. And then I heard there was another dose of it. So, you know, it's definitely something that's a concern for me because I have family, you know, coming from Boston. I want to come from Boston. I got people in Cincinnati. So, you know, and they're all older people. And, you know, it's just a matter of making the right decision. And, you know, I agree with you. You know, maybe they should really definitely consider doing something virtually, even though, you know, I would like the blue carpet, you know what I'm saying? But
you like the what? You like the what?
The blue carpet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would like to experience, you know, that blue carpet, feel like Michael Jordan a little bit saying my speech. But hey, if we got to be safe, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to be safe, but it's a little different when you have a close family member who have died from COVID. You know, it's a little different when it comes from that standpoint. But like I said, I hope they figure it out, and you know, and we'll see what happens. But I'm just grateful to be a part of it and to you know, be inducted. So other than that, we'll see what happens. You know?
Definitely. And it's just got a few more moving on, man. And obviously, you know, Kentucky's off to a bad start. So I just wanted I think you saw some of the Notre Dame, some of the North Carolina game. Have you got a chance to check them out?
Yeah, a little bit, just a little bit.
Okay.
And,
what's your thoughts from what you saw so far?
Well, I look at the game a little bit different. Of course, these guys are young, and it takes a while. If you look at every, you know, even from during our time or during Cal's time, even though you can have talent, it's going to take these guys a while to get this system. It's just how it works because they're young. They have to get the system first. And what I mean by that, they have to get the defensive schemes, they have to get the offensive schemes. Even though they're talented, they have some guys that's talented, you still have to be able to do that. Right now, they're struggling with that. And until they get it, that's what's going to happen. Good things that I see is we do have some talent. They're fighting hard. You know, they're in a lot of games. It's just they're young right now. One thing about Cal's teams is they get a lot better at the end of the year because it takes that long for them to learn the system. So I think people just need to realize, man, these guys, they're showing promise. They're going to be pretty good. I don't care what the record is right now. By the end of the year, these guys are going to be rolling pretty good. That's just how I see it. It just takes a while to learn the system. I don't care how talented you are offensively. You have to learn the system. And that's just what it is. So they're going to be okay. I'm not worried about it. You know, the record, we look at the record because we're not used to seeing that. But these guys, they're going to pick it up. They're going to be all right by the end of the year. So there's no worries for me. They're going to be all right. I'm not worried because I see some talent. I see some good things. I see some good things on the team.
No, I agree with you, especially the last game against Carolina. I mean, they definitely showed some signs of growth.
Yeah.
They attacked the basket a lot more than they had in the previous games. The one glaring thing for me is they have two superstars, futures two superstars. And they're not clicking together. And when I think about it, I'll never compare them to you and the DA because obviously DA was a junior, you was a sophomore. But Brandon Boston and Terrence Clark are the guys that I see if they start playing together, well, their team will do a lot better. From what I see as far as their talent.
Right.
And also, you know, the point guard play. I mean, I think that you have to have a point guard. And then you have to have someone to come in and back that point guard up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just been so critical. I mean, you look at our teams, there was always Anthony Epps.
Yeah.
And then if E wasn't playing well, I kind of made up for the slack where he wasn't, you know, playing so well at.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the bench definitely plays a role. And, you know, for me, what I see also is Cal always keeps a significant shot blocker. And what I mean by that is there's a guy out there, if there's any mistakes made on the perimeter, they cleaning it up, whether it be DeMarcus Cousins. And I know these guys are NBA superstars, but that's what comes through. That's what had been coming through Kentucky, you know, the past 10 years. And I can go back to Nerlens. I mean, Nerlens wasn't the biggest physical guy, but he blocked shots, though. Like, he made it a habit. And there are some guys with that potential on the team, but they, in my opinion, they're just not – that's not a priority for them. I don't think they see that yet, like a guy like Olivier Sarr, and especially a Toppin who comes off the bench and, you know, just fills in as a sub. Like, I feel like he's not coming in with a defensive mindset. And you hit it on the nose. You know, the learning the system, you know, that was one of our biggest challenges as a freshman, just coming in and actually learning the system. Because I don't know if you noticed against Carolina, they doubled down a lot. They were trying to double. It was sometimes a hard show, sometimes a double. But out of the double, something that I remember like yesterday, I had trouble with the rotations out of the double as a freshman. Yeah. You know, it was hard because the communication's important. Right. Yeah. And then you got to know where to go and be able to make that proper closeout and try to stop the guys on the perimeter. So I'm with you. I think they will improve. Yeah. And get better. But this is the question. Now that we're about to get into conference play, obviously they got Louisville coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. Can they still make the tournament? Because this is a rough start. And there were some teams that they lost to that no one ever predicted them to lose to. Yeah. Like a Richmond, like a Notre Dame. Yeah. I mean, Carolina has tradition. They're going to fight. But losing to Richmond could really hurt. Do you think they'll wake up? Well, Cal will get them and his staff will get them together in time for conference to be ready to make the tournament? Do you think they'll make it? I think they're going to be all right by the time we get to conference, because right now is, you know, get all the mistakes out the way, get the learning curve. Let's just go ahead and get all the mistakes out the way now, jump on track,
And once we hit conference tournament, once we hit the conference, I think we're going to be all right. We should have stuff together by then. We should be getting to the point now where we're learning the rotations, we're learning the systems, we're learning what our role is. Right now, guys are still figuring out what their roles are. And the SEC is not as strong as it was before. So I think we're going to be okay. I mean, you're still going to have Tennessee is still going to be really good. Auburn, you still got a couple of teams that is going to be really good. But I think we're going to be okay. I believe that we're going to be all right once we get in conference play.
And around this time, bro, like, these guys, it's funny because these guys get to go home sometimes, like during Christmas and stuff. And,
Right.
The 2 years you were there, the 4 years I was there, I never saw home during the holidays. Yeah. We always practice. And, I think they get a little break probably after the Louisville game. I'm not sure, but we never went home before that game.
Right.
And, this is the time to get better.
Yeah.
But if you're John Calipari, like, what do you do to prepare them during this time? There ain't no school. You know what I'm saying? There's no schoolwork. All of this is basketball.
Yeah.
What do you do to improve your shooting? We're not shooting it well. Like, how do you get these guys to get over the hump now when they don't have to worry about school anymore? It's just all basketball.
You got to stay in the gym. You have to get in the gym. You got to go over the film work. You got to practice. You have to get to the point where these guys have to learn their rotations and learn their role. And that's just something that's just going to take time. It's not a manual for it. Like, when you have young guys like that, they got to play in the games to get it. They have to practice a lot to get it. And they just going to have to learn as they go. That's about the only thing you can do, but they have to lock in. That's one thing they have to do. They have to pay attention. They have to lock in and be ready to practice every day. And I just think that people just have to believe in the system and know that the system is going to work, but the system can't work until these guys learn it. They have to learn it. It's just a process. And, we go through it every year, not like this year, but we go through a learning curve where guys get a lot better as the season goes on. And by the end of the year, we're ready for tournament play. We're a lot better than what we were at the beginning of the year. That's just how it is. And people just have to be patient and just know that Calipari will have these guys ready. It's just going to take time and just have to believe. And I believe that they're going to be ready.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm definitely with you. I've been on Cal's staff and I saw how hard he worked as a coach. I saw how he prepares the guys offensively, even defensively, and the staff. I mean, I think the staff, even though the loss of Kenny Payne, I think he still has a great coach in Bruiser Flint who knows the game. He's been around the game for a long time. Obviously, John Robick and Tony Bobby's been head coaches. So they definitely have the staff to prepare these guys with everything they need to prepare with. And, I'm with you. Like, I definitely see them growing a lot more. Yeah. I think they'll get a little more connected because, obviously they're going to be around each other and not having to be away from each other with the schoolwork going on, with this virtual stuff. And, I would definitely advise them to try to find some bonding things. We bonded. We were able to bond. And that kept us connected. We went out, we bowled. Obviously, nothing's open now. Yeah. And that COVID is taking effect.
Taking a lot away.
Like, bro, I mean, the crowd played a role. Like, I mean, however people want to say it, like for you, I know for me, when I got in, I heard the crowd, like, how did you feel? You know what I'm saying? When you heard that crowd?
Hey, I hear everything. So not only the crowd, but I'm hearing coach yell at me all the way down the court. Like, I hear everything. So it's like, it's tough. People have no idea how tough it is playing in front of 20,000 people, and they can see every mistake that you make. And then coaches letting you have it when you come to the bench for being taken out for making a mistake. So it's tough, man. And one thing I do want to say is, and people need to take in consideration with these kids now and with the team, not only with the COVID situation, you don't know what these young men are going through in life, period. Family members, whatever, health situations. We don't know this, you know what I mean? So people need to, take a step back and look at it and say, hey, man, this is a difficult time for everybody. Not only, athletes, and entertainers, man, it's tough. So with some of these young men, we don't know what they're going through. They have to learn a lot, you know, not only just basketball, but outside the court as well, man. So take in consideration of that and understand that, man, this is tough. And I think they're going to get through it and they'll be better off later on. But just understand, man, we don't know what these young men are going through, you know? So, yeah. Coaches too, coaches as well. You know,
Right.
it's a tough time, man. I don't, you know, can you imagine playing in this environment, you know, during the time when we playing in it right now, knowing that we can't really go around our family members, can't be around other friends that we grew up with or whatever because of COVID situations, or, you know, you can't go out and have fun and go bowling and things like that, you know, have to get tested all the time and still go out there and perform. Now, you might not be playing in front of 20,000 people, but, you know, people watching it on TV all throughout Kentucky and everywhere else. So you still got millions of people watching you play. And the pressure is still there to go out and play because of what you have on your jersey and what you have on the back of your jersey. So people have to understand there's tough times right now. And you can only imagine, man, what, you know, I can't even imagine what these young men are going through and what the coaching staff was going through, because they can't do, some of the coaches can't do the things they normally would do if they didn't have COVID that's going on right now. So it's tough times for both players and coaches. So, you know.
And I'm gonna leave you with this last question. I promise you it's the last one.
Yeah.
You know, we both came in to Kentucky highly recruited. You obviously was on the first team All-American. I was second team. I believe Terrence Clark was in that same boat. And just as a freshman, like, he's coming in, and I see he's coming in trying his best, you know, trying hard. And obviously it's Kentucky. There's a big expectation. You've been in that field before. What advice would you give him, and even Brandon Boston to a certain extent, even though he's playing the best out of the two? What advice will you give him just as a freshman playing for Kentucky?
As a freshman, I would tell those guys, man, to continue to work hard and bond with his teammates and believe in his teammates, because one guy can't do it. You know, right now, one guy cannot carry that load, and don't put so much pressure on yourself to take that whole load, because it's going to take the whole team for those guys to win collectively as a group. That's what it's going to take. So you got to sacrifice something right now, but at the same time, at the end of games and close games, those guys will be able to kind of show their talent when their time comes or when it's needed. The only thing that kind of hurts, the only thing that the advantage that we had that these guys didn't have is we had veteran guys. We have seniors like Tony Delk, Walter McCarty, Mark Pope. Those guys, we were learning from them every day. And so we learned a lot. Those guys don't have that because so many guys come 1 or 2 years and they're gone. So those guys just have to be patient, believe in Cal and the coaching staff, and know that their time is going to come, and just go out and just have fun, enjoy the game, and practice and play hard. That's about all you can really do.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. Just be a sponge, you know, work hard, believe in your coach, trust the system, and you know, continue to work hard. I mean, believe in your teammates, trust them, because I feel like even though it was your sophomore year when DA went down, you trusted in us. A few of us that was called to, you know, contribute, like myself, Cameron Mills, even Allen Edwards had to play multiple positions.
Yeah.
But you showed that trust for us when we came into those roles, and it actually helped you perform even at a higher level once we got to the tournament. So I definitely hear what you're saying, bro. I appreciate you even sharing that for these guys. You know, obviously I'm always gonna be blue. I'm always gonna ride with them regardless. You know,
Oh yeah.
I think the first team with Cal, you know, has some struggles with. People forget about, you know, the team that had to play in the NIT, but you know, this is not, in my opinion, this is not, you know, an NIT team. This is definitely a tournament team, and at some point they're gonna figure it out. But I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing this with me. Everybody that listened in, Make sure you subscribe and listen to the Burner Turner Show. Get a conversation.